AlphaTauri in 2021 had a very good season, considering they're just a sister team to Red Bull and are there to develop drivers pretty much. They managed to finish P6 in the constructors' standings, beating some huge names like Aston Martin. This mainly thanks to Pierre Gasly, who had a phenomenal season for the team. Of course, with the new 2022 regulations, they hope to stay in P6 or even improve. Would they? Well, going into the first race weekend at Bahrain, it was expected that the midfield would be much closer, including for AlphaTauri. In Bahrain, it was kind of a dream start for Yuki Tsunoda, who would finish P8 and take home 4 valuable points for the team. However, Gasly would have an engine failure with the new Red Bull powertrains, just like both of the actual Red Bulls did. Could this be a concern for the season? Well, going into Saudi Arabia, there was a lot of speculation on the Red Bull engines, and Yuki would have an issue before the race started, meaning he did not get to actually start the race. Gasly, however, would this time be the one to be P8 and take home 4 points. So 8 points in 2 races, but 2 DNFs, so lots of things to improve on still. Next up in Australia, it was a solid race from the team with them getting points once again, but this time with Pierre Gasly, who would finish in P9 and get 2 points. However, Yuki would not have a good race, finishing in P15, a race to forget. In Imola, it would be Yuki this time who scored a huge amount of points in such a tight midfield, with him taking home 6 points in P7 and Gasly in P13, who famously held up Hamilton for so long and stopped him from making any progress in the race. In Miami, however, would be the first time that the team did not score any points, with Gasly having a DNF due to a crash with Fernando, and then a crash which took him and Norris out of the race, which was quite silly to say the least. Yuki did not have the best weekend, finishing in P12. In Spain, this would be the first of the upgrades brought to each team, and AlphaTauri would still show some pace, with Yuki outperforming Gasly again, getting a single point in P10, and Gasly would be outside the points for 3 races in a row at P13. Monaco was a very tough weekend, and one to forget, where they would not score any points. Gasly would cross the line in P11, where he probably deserved more due to his pace, but of course you cannot overtake at Monaco. Yuki would finish last of the runners in P17. Baku would be a massive weekend for the team points-wise, with Gasly taking home 10 massive points in P5, which is huge due to how close the midfield is. To get 10 points when every point matters really put a lot of momentum into AlphaTauri. The less we speak about Yuki, the better, as he finishes in P13. Canada, however, would be the polar opposite to Baku, with them getting no points, whilst other midfield cars scored points. Gasly would come over the line in P14, but Yuki would have quite a silly crash. He would pit for new tires on, and as soon as he came out of the pits, he would lock his tires up, going straight into the barriers. A weekend to forget for Yuki again. The British GP was bad for both drivers, as they would come together, which meant that Gasly had a rear wing damage, which meant he had a DNF. Yuki would come last to the runners in P14, the weekend in which he called the crash the worst moment of his career. For the 3rd race in a row, the team would score no points, with Gasly, who crashed with Vettel, which was his fault, and finished in P15, with Yuki behind him in P16, meaning that the team were clearly struggling, as others brought upgrades and improved. At the halfway point of the season in France, it was another poor weekend, with Yuki having to DNF, due to Ocon crashing into him on lap 1, which meant that he finally retired on lap 17. Gasly would actually finish the race, but this time in P12, meaning that they had not scored points in 4 races. Just before the summer break in Hungary, both cars would get knocked out in Q1, showing how bad the pace was, and the race was no better, with both of them being out the points again, with Gasly in P12, and Yuki last of the runners in P19. 5 races without points as they fall down the standings. After the summer break, the team would finally score points, with Gasly taking home 2 for the team in P9, which hopefully allowed the team to have a good last third of the season. Yuki, on the other hand, would be stuck in a DRS train that saw him finish in P13. In the Netherlands, no points were scored, with Gasly in P11, but Yuki would DNF in odd circumstances. He would be told to stop the car, then restarted it and went back to the pits. He would change tires, go out again, and would then stop the car, which caused a lot of conspiracies which were stupid, as they suggested that AlphaTauri helped Red Bull win. Italy would get some more crucial points scored, with Gasly taking home 4 points in P8 to make the team push for P8 in the constructor standings. Yuki, however, would not score points, as he was yet again stuck in a DRS train for most of the race in P14. For the first time in a long time, the team would score back-to-back points, with Gasly taking home a solid P10, whilst Yuki would make a mistake, which you cannot do around the streets of Singapore, which meant that he retired from the race in P14 on lap 34. Japan was a poor weekend again, with Yuki finishing in P13, but Gasly was so annoyed with the FIA due to them putting a tractor on track, whilst he was still going around to catch the safety car. He was given a huge penalty and loads of penalty points, and it made Gasly so angry due to his friend Jules Bianchi dying at the same track because of a tractor on track. At Texas at the Circuit of the Americas, Yuki would be the one scoring a crucial point in P10, whilst Gasly had a poor weekend finishing outside of the points in P14, and the final few races were crucial. In Mexico, it was not the weekend the team would have wanted, with Yuki having to DNF on lap 50 due to a collision from Ricciardo that was not his fault at all. Gasly also did not have the best weekend, finishing in P11, just outside the points when they needed to. Brazil, the penultimate race of the season, and one to forget for Yuki, as the FIA really did screw him over, as they didn't allow him to unlap himself under the safety car. This meant that he was unable to make up any positions on the restart as he was a lap down. Gasly would not be able to score points going into the final round, meaning that the team would have to score 3 points, and Haas to not score any for them to take P9 in the Constructors. Would it happen? The short and simple answer, no. Yuki would finish P11 and Gasly in P14, meaning that they only got P9 in the Constructors' standings. Overall, it's pretty fair to say that this season has been somewhat a failure, due to them going from P6 to P9 in the standings. They've sometimes been one of the slowest cars on the grid, and struggled to pick up consistent points like they did in 2022. They go into 2023 with a new lineup of Tsunoda and De Vries, and they hope to build on this season and try to move up the midfield next year. Will AlphaTauri be able to score consistent points without Gasly in 2023? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to like and subscribe for even more awesome content just like this.